I do want to say before my opening remarks, since we're talking about the Endangered Species Act, I'm just wondering if my colleagues on the other side would put babies on the endangered species list. These babies were born in Washington, D.C., full term. I don't know, maybe that's a way we can save some children here in the United States.
That was Representative Lauren Boebert at a hearing about endangered species, bringing up weirdo photos that don't belong in that. Yeah. Okay. So now this happened during a Water, Wildlife, and Fisheries Subcommittee hearing, and while she was there to present a bill that would remove the gray wolf from the list of endangered species, she showed photos of babies and claimed that they were the endangered species? Wait, that is both bizarre and comical. What? I cannot believe that I have to say this, but human beings, they're not endangered species. And I also have to point out, and I can't believe that the fact that these babies, if they're already born, as she said, that they were born in D.C., well, then that doesn't make it an abortion. So her argument, I don't even know what her argument is at this point. We gotta save the children. What do you mean? Children are in danger? Again, there's no such thing as abortion after birth. That's just literal murder. And that is already illegal. What are you doing? And look, again, I'm not entirely sure what the point is here, other than to try to push an extreme abortion ban. But here's the thing, right? Now, if you want to point out that birth rates in the United States, are they down? Yeah, they're down. They're down. Now, interestingly enough, since 2019, the birth rate in America has gone up, actually increased, by very, very small amounts, of course. But when you look at the historical trend, yeah, it's very clear that the birth rate is a lot lower than the 1800s. Okay. Well, obviously a ton of things have changed since the 1800s, so maybe that's a bad comparison. So let's look about let's look a little sooner, I should say, a little more recently. How about the 1950s? That also might be a bad comparison because of all the different social change, things like birth control, for example, being legalized for Americans, for American women specifically. And so you also had in the 20s, women's rights, more women going into the workforce. Okay, so let's look even more recently. How about 2000? Well, it's also been going down. The birth rate had actually declined from 14.3 live births per 1,000 people to about 12 live births per 1,000 people in the year of 2020. So now when you look at that, yeah, it's down, but it is down ever so slightly. That said, are we an endangered species? Well, based on numbers, no, there's 8 billion people on this planet, so the argument is a bit ridiculous. But actually, when you look into it, it gets a little bit more insidious. It becomes more of a dog whistle. And what do I mean by that? Well, generally, I have noticed that many of the people who fearmonger about declining birth rates are really doing so mainly in the context of white birth rates that are declining. Okay. So now this also, I've noticed, is used as a way to push the culture wars by blaming the, the destruction of the nuclear family and women not wanting to be mothers or not wanting to have families on gay people, trans people, and the dreaded feminisms that has destroyed the family and the fabric of our society. No, look, in reality, I think one of the main issues that drives the decline in birth rates happens to be economic. Look, in the United States, we do not have paid family leave. We have a system where childcare is prohibitively expensive, and a situation in this country when it comes to wages where it takes 2 incomes in a household to make ends meet. The average American household is struggling to pay the bills, especially now with inflation. Now, this is at the same time where you have conservative politicians that have been pushing food stamp cuts, and they're fighting against bills that allow free school lunches. Yeah. So wait, it also, by the way, sends it costs an extremely high amount of money to send children to kids to college, to get an education, to be competitive in the job market. And in that kind of environment, even if you want children, and there's a lot of people who do, they ultimately end up making the decision that we can't afford them. And that's true in this country. And yes, there are couples out there that are choosing to be childless, and that's totally fine too. It's not really my job or anybody's job to go in and tell people what to do with their bodies, their reproductive systems. Okay. Now, what the right thing to do is, though, is, okay, if you care about the birth rate and you care about families and you want to promote traditional families, okay, then why don't you put forward policy positions that encourage that? I mean, that would be very, very simple. Okay? Just put forward policies that are family friendly. And again, economic policy that is family friendly. Why would they not want to do that? I honestly, I can come up with different things that I think is the case. But ultimately, I mean, why they're doing what they're doing is really something that it's in their heads. You know, I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know why they would be against school lunches for children, for poor kids. I don't know why they would be against reducing the amount that it takes to, send your kid to childcare, or raise wages for average American working families. I don't know. It might have something to do with greed. But look, at the end of the day, I do believe that I know why Boebert is pushing this. And I think for her, and in my opinion, I think for her, it's not about babies. I think it's not about families. I think that it's for her trying to ensure that there are more white babies. And that maybe women are reduced to being essentially breeders, while stamping out the existence of transgender and non-binary people.